Sharing the neutral wire in a 3-wire, 240-volt circuit is acceptable per NEC if the circuit is balanced and the neutral current does not exceed the ampacity of the neutral conductor. The circuit must be balanced, meaning that the current on the two hot conductors is equal. The neutral current must not exceed the ampacity of the neutral conductor. In the installation described, the question is firstly, is the circuit balanced, and secondly, does the neutral current exceed the ampacity of the neutral conductor? The circuit is balanced because the load wires are distributed evenly between the two hot conductors, ensuring that the current is approximately equal on both hot conductors. Assuming that the lights are evenly distributed across the 12 circuits, the neutral current would be approximately 10 amps, calculated as 20 amps times 12 circuits divided by 2. Number 10 stranded wire has an ampacity of 30 amps, which is greater than the neutral current. Based on this information, the installation appears to be in compliance with NEC requirements for neutral sharing on a 3-wire, 240-volt circuit. To ensure safety, it is important to verify that the neutral terminal in the lighting panel is properly connected to the bonded neutral at the transformer. The NEC requires that all exposed metal surfaces of the electrical equipment be grounded. This includes the transformer case, the lighting panel, and the light fixtures. It is good practice to use a grounding wire or conduit to provide a low impedance path for fault currents. To elaborate further, it's crucial to understand the fundamentals of neutral sharing in electrical circuits, especially within the context of the National Electrical Code, or NEC. Neutral sharing, also known as multi-wire branch circuits, is a wiring technique where a single neutral conductor is used for multiple circuits. This can be an efficient way to reduce wiring costs and conduit fill, but it must be done correctly to avoid safety hazards and code violations. In a 3-wire, 240-volt circuit, which is common in residential and light commercial applications, two hot conductors, each carrying 120 volts with respect to the neutral, provide power to the load. The voltage between the two hot conductors is 240 volts. The neutral conductor carries the imbalance of current between the two hot conductors. If the loads are perfectly balanced, meaning they draw the same current, the neutral current is zero. However, in real-world scenarios, loads are rarely perfectly balanced, and the neutral conductor carries the difference in current. The NEC sets specific requirements for neutral sharing to ensure safety and prevent overloading the neutral conductor. One of the primary requirements is that the circuit must be balanced. This means that the current on the two hot conductors should be approximately equal. If one hot conductor is heavily loaded while the other is lightly loaded, the neutral conductor will carry a large current, potentially exceeding its ampacity. To achieve a balanced circuit, load should be distributed evenly between the two hot conductors. In the example provided, the lighting panel has 12 circuits, and the load wires are distributed in an alternating pattern, such as a B, to ensure that the current is approximately equal on both hot conductors. Another critical requirement is that the neutral current must not exceed the ampacity of the neutral conductor. The ampacity of a conductor is its current carrying capacity, which is determined by its size, material, and insulation type. The NEC specifies ampacity ratings for different types of conductors in Table 310.15b16. For example, number 10 stranded copper wire, which is used in the installation, typically has an ampacity of 30 amps when used in common wiring methods. To determine the neutral current, it's necessary to calculate the current on each hot conductor and then find the difference. In the example provided, it's assumed that the lights are evenly distributed across the 12 circuits, and each circuit is protected by a 20 amps breaker. This means that the maximum current on each circuit is 20 amps. If the loads are evenly distributed, the neutral current would be approximately 10 amps, calculated as 20 amps times 12 circuits divided by 2. Since the ampacity of the number 10 wire is 30 amps, which is greater than the neutral current, the installation appears to be in compliance with NEC requirements. However, it's important to note that this is an approximation, and the actual neutral current may vary depending on the specific loads connected to each circuit. It's always a good practice to measure the neutral current with an ammeter to verify that it's within the ampacity of the neutral conductor. In addition to these requirements, the NEC also specifies other considerations for neutral sharing. For example, the NEC requires that the neutral conductor be sized no smaller than the ungrounded conductors, and it must be identified with a white or grey marking. The neutral conductor must also be connected to a single neutral terminal in the panel board, and it must not be spliced or interrupted. The NEC also requires that multi-wire branch circuits be provided with a means to simultaneously disconnect all ungrounded conductors at the overcurrent device where the circuit originates. This can be achieved by using a 2-pole or 3-pole circuit breaker. The NEC also addresses the use of arc fault circuit interrupters, or SIs, on multi-wire branch circuits. SIs are designed to detect arc faults, which are dangerous electrical conditions that can cause fires. The NEC requires that the SIs be installed on multi-wire branch circuits that supply lighting, receptacles, and other loads in dwelling units. Furthermore, proper grounding is essential for electrical safety. Grounding provides a low impedance path for fault currents, which helps to protect people and equipment from electrical shock and fire hazards. The NEC requires that all exposed metal surfaces of electrical equipment be grounded, including the transformer case, a lighting panel, and the light fixtures. Grounding can be achieved by using a grounding wire or conduit to connect the equipment to the grounding electrode system. The grounding electrode system typically consists of a ground rod, a metal water pipe, or a concrete encased electrode. The grounding electrode system must be connected to the neutral conductor at the service entrance, creating a bonded neutral. This bond is essential for providing a low impedance path for fault currents and ensuring that the overcurrent devices will trip in the event of a fault. In addition to grounding, bonding is also important for electrical safety. Bonding is the process of connecting all metal parts of the electrical system together to create a common electrical potential. This helps to prevent voltage differences between metal parts, which can cause electrical shock hazards. The NEC requires that all metal parts of the electrical system be bonded together, including conduit, enclosures, and equipment. Bonding can be achieved by using bonding jumpers, which are short lengths of wire that connect metal parts together. It's also important to ensure that all connections are tight and corrosion-free. Proper installation and maintenance of electrical systems are essential for ensuring safety and preventing electrical hazards. Electrical work should only be performed by qualified and licensed electricians who are familiar with the NEC and local electrical codes. Regular inspections and testing of electrical systems can help to identify potential problems before they become serious hazards. It's also important to educate occupants about electrical safety and how to recognize and respond to electrical hazards. In conclusion, neutral sharing in 3-wire 240-volt circuits is permitted by the NEC under certain conditions. The circuit must be balanced, the neutral current must not exceed the ampacity of the neutral conductor, and all other applicable NEC requirements must be followed. Proper grounding and bonding are also essential for electrical safety. By following these guidelines, it's possible to safely and efficiently use neutral sharing in electrical systems. To reiterate the key concepts, let's consider a few additional scenarios and examples. Suppose, for instance, that instead of evenly distributing the 12 circuits, all 12 circuits were connected to only one of the hot conductors. In this case, the neutral current would be equal to the total current on that hot conductor, which could potentially exceed the ampacity of the neutral conductor. This would be a violation of the NEC and could create a fire hazard. In another scenario, suppose that the lights being used were replaced with high-intensity discharge, or HID, lighting, which typically draws a higher current than incandescent or LED lighting. In this case, the neutral current could increase, potentially exceeding the ampacity of the neutral conductor. It would be necessary to recalculate the neutral current and ensure that it's within the ampacity of the neutral conductor. It's also important to consider the effects of harmonic currents on neutral conductors. Harmonic currents are non-sinusoidal currents that can be generated by electronic devices such as computers, electronic ballasts, and variable frequency drives, or VFDs. Harmonic currents can cause the neutral current to increase, even if the loads are balanced. The NEC requires that neutral conductors be sized to carry harmonic currents if they exceed a certain percentage of the fundamental current. In some cases, it may be necessary to use an oversized neutral conductor or a neutral current filter to mitigate the effects of harmonic currents. Furthermore, it's essential to understand the difference between a grounded conductor and a grounding conductor. The grounded conductor, or neutral, is the conductor that is intentionally grounded at the service entrance. The grounding conductor is the conductor that provides a path for fault currents back to the source. The grounded conductor carries current under normal conditions, while the grounding conductor only carries current during a fault. The grounded conductor and the grounding conductor must be kept separate, except at the service entrance where they are bonded together. The NEC prohibits using the grounded conductor as a grounding conductor, and vice versa. This is to prevent electrical shock hazards and ensure that fault currents will flow back to the source, causing the overcurrent devices to trip. In addition to the NEC, local electrical codes may also have specific requirements for neutral sharing. It's important to consult with the local electrical inspector to ensure that the installation complies with all applicable codes and regulations. The electrical inspector can provide guidance on specific requirements and can help to ensure that the installation is safe and compliant. Proper documentation is also important for electrical installations. It's a good practice to keep records of all electrical work performed, including wiring diagrams, calculations, and test results. This documentation can be helpful for troubleshooting problems and for future modifications to the electrical system. It's also important to label all circuits and equipment clearly and accurately. This will help to prevent confusion and ensure that the correct circuits are de-energized for maintenance and repairs. In summary, neutral sharing in 3-wire, 240-volt circuits is a complex topic that requires a thorough understanding of the NEC and local electrical codes. By following the guidelines outlined in this discussion, it's possible to safely and efficiently use neutral sharing in electrical systems. However, it's important to remember that electrical work should only be performed by qualified and licensed electricians who are familiar with the applicable codes and regulations. Regular inspections and testing of electrical systems can help to identify potential problems before they become serious hazards, ensuring the safety and reliability of the electrical system. The specific requirements for neutral sharing and grounding can vary depending on the application and the local codes. For example, in some jurisdictions, the use of ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, may be required on certain circuits, such as those serving bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor areas. GFCIs are designed to detect ground faults, which are dangerous electrical conditions that can cause electrical shock hazards. When a ground fault is detected, the GFCI will trip, interrupting the flow of current and preventing electrical shock. It's also important to consider the voltage drop in electrical circuits. Voltage drop is the reduction in voltage that occurs as current flows through a conductor. Excessive voltage drop can cause equipment to malfunction and can reduce the efficiency of the electrical system. The NEC specifies maximum voltage drop limits for different types of circuits. To minimize voltage drop, it's necessary to use conductors that are large enough to carry the current without excessive voltage drop. The length of the circuit also affects voltage drop. Longer circuits will have more voltage drop than shorter circuits. It's also important to ensure that all connections are tight and corrosion-free, as loose or corroded connections can increase voltage drop. In addition to voltage drop, it's also important to consider the impedance of electrical circuits. Impedance is the opposition to the flow of alternating current, or AC. Impedance consists of resistance and reactance. Resistance is the opposition to the flow of current due to the material of the conductor. Reactance is the opposition to the flow of current due to the inductance and capacitance of the circuit. The impedance of a circuit affects the amount of current that will flow in the event of a fault. A low impedance path for fault currents is essential for ensuring that the overcurrent devices will trip quickly and clear the fault. The NEC specifies maximum impedance limits for different types of circuits. To minimize impedance, it's necessary to use conductors with low resistance and to minimize the inductance and capacitance of the circuit. The routing of conductors can also affect impedance. Conductors that are run close together will have lower impedance than conductors that are run far apart. It's also important to ensure that all connections are tight and corrosion-free, as loose or corroded connections can increase impedance. Furthermore, surge protection is an important consideration for electrical systems. Surges are transient overvoltages that can damage sensitive electronic equipment. Surges can be caused by lightning, switching of electrical loads, and other disturbances on the power system. Surge protective devices, or SPDs, are designed to protect equipment from surges by diverting the surge current to ground. The NEC requires that SPD be installed in certain locations, such as at the service entrance and at sensitive electronic equipment. It's also important to ensure that the SPD are properly grounded to provide a low impedance path for the surge current. In conclusion, designing and installing electrical systems requires a thorough understanding of the NEC local electrical codes and the principles of electrical engineering. By following the guidelines outlined in this discussion, it's possible to create safe, reliable, and efficient electrical systems. However, it's important to remember that electrical work should only be performed by qualified and licensed electricians who are familiar with the applicable codes and regulations. Regular inspections and testing of electrical systems can help to identify potential problems before they become serious hazards, ensuring the safety and reliability of the electrical system.